Good morning. How is everyone? We want to see Barely this morning. Your daughter wants attention. Oh, I still feel ligaments. Barely here. She is due with, I'm guessing twins or triplets. Again, this time she's due tomorrow. I can't remember if she's gone early or late in the past, but doesn't look like she's going early this year. That's okay. We're in the hurry up and wait stage of things. I did notice that her daughter Tempest, she is due on the 12th and her udder is starting to fill up. Hey, Tallulah. We have 4 does that are leaving the barn today. They're going to their new home. So this is our last morning with Boba, with Tallulah, with Mayhem, and with Holly. I'm selling them so I can make space for what Barely has on board, what Tempest has on board, what Clover has on board, and what Breezy has on board. Clover is due with standard La Manchas. She was bred on another farm. These guys both have Nigerians on board. But Breezy here has our first F2 mini La Manchas on board. And she's getting a cute little udder too. Yeah. We see you, Alara. You're so sweet. So I came down just to get my hands on Barely. I could see her on my camera. She didn't look like she was in any kind of stage of labor, but she's so short that I really couldn't see her udder at all, and I wanted to get my hands on her. Oh my goodness, that baby's jumping on you too, and nobody seems to care. Probably feels good, like a massage. At least until he gets a little bigger. Are you being obnoxious, sir? Can you guys hear those power tools in the background? Are you doing both at once?
Yeah.
Okay. What he's making are 2 Langstroth long beehives. So I have not talked about it much in the last year. I hope to change that this year, but we are beekeepers. And I have found over the course of the last few years of keeping bees that for me, the traditional way of beekeeping where you stack the boxes on top of each other is not very conducive to my bad elbow and functioning. So beekeeping horizontally is going to be better for me. And I'm really excited to have those hives. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's at least a little bit of germination in the tomatoes that I planted probably about 10 days ago. I don't know if you saw my garden tour recently, but I mentioned that this little mini greenhouse got pretty hot one day. It was like 111 degrees when I saw it. For all I know, it got warmer than that. So I have been a little bit worried about what the germination rate is gonna be for these, but it looks like they're on their way. We've gotten a little. Our lettuces that I scatter planted in here, those are doing well as the kale. They don't have any of their seedling leaves out yet, but we do have some roots going down in. I noticed in the last couple of days too that the Brussels sprouts look like they're kind of getting a second life. See all those Brussels sprouts in there? That's exciting. I'm glad I didn't pull these out. This one looks like it's going to flower. Can you see how different the top looks? We've got almost this broccoli looking thing on the top. And then this, it looks like a cabbage on top. This one is flowering, so it's probably not going to be producing Brussels sprouts. But the rest of them still are. See in there? It's really cool. We should check on the asparagus. This is me every day waiting for the asparagus. I'm about as impatient waiting for the asparagus as I am waiting for baby goats, not gonna lie. I have this habit that I need to get back into that is a good habit, and that habit is every time I step into the garden, I need to be picking at least 3 weeds. It's the best way to keep on top of the weed situation, and it's a good habit to have. Eventually I will lay down mulch in these beds, but not yet. A lot of the beds have very tiny plants or seeds still kind of sown down in them, and I want those plants to be a little bit bigger before I surround them with mulch. You had one. You had one. I've got it on camera. Yeah. Because we've had so much milk coming in, I've started my kefir over again. I had been keeping my kefir grains in the freezer. If you don't know what kefir is, it's essentially a drinkable yogurt, and it's one of the most rich probiotic foods out there. So I've had that going, and I've got to reset that. And I also did pull out my sourdough starter again. I had put it away for kidding season, but then I realized kidding season's really long, and I don't want to be without bread for that long. So I've got a couple loaves that I'm putting in the oven this morning. A lot of people have a bread lame to put some score marks in the top of their bread. I have a scalpel. It all works. See that? I do have a video on kefir that I'll link at the end of this one if you have not seen it before. We use our raw goat's milk in this kefir, and it works very well. I got my original kefir grains from Fusion Teas online. Very likely these grains, the original ones were used with cow's milk, but I had no problems transferring them over to goat's milk. Raw goat's milk at that. You'll hear a lot of times that you can't do kefir with raw milk. Yes, you can. One of the reasons that people say that is because the natural cultures that are in raw milk can sometimes try to outcompete the natural cultures that are in these kefir grains. See them down there? I think the key in the very beginning is to change the milk out pretty often, 2 to 3 times a day in the beginning, until the grains really get activated and have a preference for that milk. And also not putting in too much milk at the start, just to give the grains the upper hand. But once they get going with raw milk and even raw goat's milk, they do awesome. I love how thick the boards are. The ones that I'm working in right now are half that.
Yeah. 1 by instead of 2 by.
So, in theory, it'll have this lid.
Yep.
That comes up, so I have to think about that. A little lower.
Okay.
Because the full frames of honey are going to be about 10 pounds each.
Right.
So I have to think about that, so, right,
3 inches lower.
3 inches lower, I think, is going to be better. Yeah, I don't have to stoop, but I also...
Yeah, it seemed like the right height for me, so I figured it was probably too high.
Yeah.
But it's just the workbench is there, so it was a good starting point.
Did the thing say how many frames this was?
I didn't read through the whole thing again.
I've probably got enough equipment anyway to go in it.
By the time it's done, it's going to have a ½ pound or more of screws.
Good. Won't blow away.
I mean, I won't already.
I know. Are you ready? You gotta finish with Mama. The next one in line is always so impatient. guys are making me so muddy. How are you doing, Bailey? See that? Oh, that was a poop. Darn it. No, she's got ligaments still. So the sun came out for just a second and the greenhouse heated up a lot. Right now it says 75, but when I first came in here it said 86. And I heard a noise when I came down here that can only really mean one thing, and that is that springtime must be here. So let's go check it out. Do you know what's awesome? Going into winter, I had 2 colonies. You see a lot of boxes out here, but really only 2 of them had bees in them over winter. There's this line of boxes here that had just the 1 colony with the brown box on the bottom. But now I've got activity right here. And that is completely new. The other colony that has bees in it is down there. There's quite a lot of activity and flurry in that colony right now. And so I'm wondering if we had a swarm already and they decided that this hive would be a good home. Which is awesome. You can see that I've dismantled some of the empty colonies, but I have left some here, really hoping that that would happen. So this is new. This is a sign of success and that the girls are doing okay. So I guess I'll put this box back together so that we have even more swarm catchers should we need them. I know I went into winter with 2 honeybee colonies. And the reason that I know that is because I checked. I looked in all of the colonies that I thought maybe were struggling or dead to see if there was a small colony in there that I could maybe combine with another colony to help get them through winter. And I only had the 2. And I now have 3. And that seems like such an early time for a first swarm, but it's been kind of unseasonably warm here this spring. I think in 2 days we're supposed to hit a record high for our area for this time of year. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. How you doing, Barely? How you doing? Mayhem, Boba, Tallulah, and Holly have been picked up. They are on their way to their new home right now. And it always looks strange to come down to the barn after so many goats leave at once and not see them here. There's much fewer ears in the barn. Seems to be a trend. Actually, Mochi, you're the only one with the longer ears in the barn right now. That is going to change pretty soon, though. We're eagerly awaiting the kids from these 2 girls specifically coming up soon. Barely looks good. Her udder doesn't seem like today is the day. But our numbers tend to fluctuate kind of a lot because we're still herd building. We're still figuring out what we want out of our herd, and we're getting there. Slowly but surely. These are going to be our first babies out of our blue cactus buck, Nefarious. We're really excited. Keep watch of the community tab. I mean, this video is scheduled to go up on Monday. And so if anything has happened in the last day or so since recording this video, I'm going to let you know in the pinned comment below and in the community tab on YouTube. That is the fastest way that information is exchanged. So updates there, and if I'm able to catch the birth, of course I'll record it. So, would you like to sign off and say goodbye to the people? We'll see you guys again soon.